My point, nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. I'm Bethany Elsey with your top stories from the GB newsroom. The former world boxing champion Ricky Hatton has been found dead at his home in Greater Manchester. He was 46. Police say they're not treating his death as suspicious. Hatton won world titles at light welterweight and welterweight, but it was also his down-to-earth personality that made him one of the most popular British boxers. Hitman, as he was known throughout his career, had a number of iconic fights against Costa Tszyu, Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. After retiring, he'd spoken openly about his struggles with mental health and drug addiction, but he was due to make a comeback this December. Hatton's former manager, Frank Warren, said he always gave everything.
He was accessible. You know, he was a fan's friend. He was like the bloke. I mean, he'd be down the pub with them. He would, you know, go to the match. He was a massive Man City fan. You know, he was just well-loved. He was a really well-loved boxer. You know, the fans adored him. You know, when his career was, you know, when he retired, he'd come along to shows. If you introduced him into the ring, he got the biggest cheer out of everybody. You know, that was the big chant, wasn't it? There's only one Ricky Hatton. I mean, that's the truth. There was only one Ricky Hatton.
The Prime Minister has condemned the violence during yesterday's rally in central London, saying he will not stand for assaults on police. 26 officers were injured and 24 people arrested at the Unite the Kingdom march, organised by Tommy Robinson, which saw around 150,000 people take part. Sir Keir Starmer said peaceful protest is core to British values, but added that we will never surrender our flag to those who want to use it as a symbol of division. Around 5,000 people also attended a counter-protest organised by Stand Up to Racism. The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, has accused the Prime Minister of lying to Parliament over what he knew and when about Peter Mandelson's involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. It's emerged Sir Keir Starmer was given a report detailing the peer's relationship with a convicted paedophile before Lord Mandelson was named ambassador to the US. But Downing Street says he was economical with the truth about his ties to Epstein before his appointment. Peter Mandelson was sacked on Thursday after damning emails he sent to Epstein were published. The first deportation flights carrying migrants from the UK to France are expected to take off next week. GB News understands a number of asylum seekers detained last week could be deported on Monday. That's as part of the one-in, one-out returns deal, which came into force last month. The scheme allows those who cross the English Channel illegally to be sent back in exchange for asylum seekers who apply and are given approval to come to Britain. And Romania has become the latest NATO country to report an incursion into its airspace by a Russian drone. It comes just days after Poland said it shot down nearly 20 Russian drones over its borders, which were bound for neighbouring Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky says the move is an obvious expansion of the war by Russia. Those are your latest headlines. Now it's time for the Camila Tominey Show.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good morning and welcome to the Camilla Tominey Show. It's been another dramatic week in Westminster. Sir Keir Starmer's worst week since the week before. On today's show, we're going to be speaking to the Secretary of State for Business and Trade, Peter Kyle. What does he make of Kemi Badenoch's accusation that the Prime Minister lied to the Commons about Peter Mandelson? From the Conservatives, I'm going to be joined by the Shadow Education Secretary, Laura Trott. Does she think Keir Starmer should resign over the scandal? Also on the programme, the esteemed political historian and biographer Sir Anthony Seldon, who has written a biography about every PM since Major. Who better to ask about how he rates Sir Keir Starmer's government 1 year in? Will he be doing a biography of Nigel Farage someday soon? Damien Green, the former Cabinet Minister, will be here to discuss his report on one of the most important but least talked about issues of our time, adult social care. How can we fix it? Welcome back. The Secretary of State for Business and Trade, Peter Kyle, joins me now. Lovely to see you, Mr. Kyle. Congratulations on your new role. Now,
you too.
The Prime Minister
Thank
said
you so much.
on Wednesday at Prime Minister's Questions that procedure was followed in regards to the appointment of Peter Mandelson. But it wasn't, was it? Because Downing Street received the additional information on Tuesday, not on Wednesday, as Stephen Doughty then told the House on Thursday.
No, what was received on Tuesday was excerpts of emails for which they needed clarity. So the Foreign Office received excerpts of emails. They were put to Peter Mandelson. At the time of PMQs, the Prime Minister had not seen the full emails. He had not seen the response from Peter Mandelson. They came later on in the day on Wednesday, but as soon as that evening, when he had the full emails and the full context, and he could make a decision having seen it, of course, the first thought from the Prime Minister, as it was with me and many others, is that this was Jeffrey Epstein. It was a criminal, and there are victims out there, and we have to put the victims first and think of them in conversations like this, because they will be re-traumatised by a lot of what they're hearing.
But
and he
hang on a minute.
acted.
You knew the following. You already knew that Peter Mandelson had referred to Jeffrey Epstein as his best pal and made this strange remark, yum yum, in the 2003 birthday book. You also knew, because the Telegraph had reported it, it was referred to at PMQs, that Peter Mandelson had worked with Jeffrey Epstein post-conviction when he was business secretary on a deal, on a business deal. So you knew that. You also knew, because you will have watched, and at least I would hope that aides in Number 10 would have watched, the interview Peter Mandelson gave to Harry Cole's podcast, where Mandelson actually says in the open there are more revelations to come. Even with all of that knowledge on Tuesday, the Prime Minister stands by this man on Wednesday.
Well, what we saw on Tuesday were excerpts of emails that were out of context, and we wanted to get the full context to make the decision. We also put all of this information on that same day.
With a convicted paedophile. Peter Kyle, you're the one that's equated Nigel Farage with Jimmy Savile over his opposition to the online safety bill, but you're perfectly happy for the Prime Minister to have supported someone who described a convicted paedophile as his best pal.
I implore you not to put that on me in terms of what I am perfectly happy. I think of the victims in this crime. And when there is somebody who does something that is supporting in the way that was revealed on Wednesday when we saw the full emails, then I wanted action taken, and of course I expected it, and the Prime Minister did act. But do not use the phrase that I was happy, because I was certainly not happy with that. Now, if you want to talk about the Online Safety Act, I'm happy to talk about the Online Safety Act. But in this instance, we are talking about a 24. We are talking.
The Prime Minister had a two-page dossier. The Prime Minister had a two-page dossier listing all of Peter Mandelson's relations with Epstein at the point that he was appointed as US ambassador. OK? The Prime Minister knew that. The Prime Minister knew because everyone in Fleet Street knew. Journalists knew. It was an open secret that Peter Mandelson had a very close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. It was the close relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and the Duke of York that cost him his job as a trade envoy. What on earth was the Prime Minister thinking in appointing this guy in the first place? He says it's in the national interest and that he behaves with integrity. He did it in his own interest because he wanted to keep the Blairites happy.
What you saw was a vetting process, which is a standard vetting process, which is independently run by a unit in the Cabinet Office. That reported to the Prime Minister, and it cleared Peter for appointment. The information that you're mentioning was public information. We knew that the association between Peter Mandelson and Jeffrey Epstein went beyond the conviction. That was known. These facts were available in the public. But what we saw from the emails in their full was of a materially different context than what we had known at the point of appointment. If we had known that then, we would not have appointed him to this job. The Prime Minister, within hours of seeing the full context, we did not.
That's the Peter Kyle, I'm sorry. Peter Mandelson himself tells Harry Cole there's more to come. Downing Street receives the emails in which Peter Mandelson has tried to support Epstein during his being charged and his conviction. We know Peter Mandelson stayed at Epstein's house while he was in prison. That all came to light to Number 10 on Tuesday. You're now saying that the Prime Minister didn't know until after Wednesday. That can't possibly be right. You had the files.
No, we did not have the full files until Wednesday. The cache of emails, we're talking about a 24-hour period here. We had snippets and excerpts. We tried to get to the bottom of it. We put this on, the Foreign Office put this to Peter on Tuesday. We were waiting for the response. The full response came, and we also had access to the full emails on Wednesday after PMQs. I've said it again and again and again, but it was Wednesday evening that we had access to the full cache of information, and then with hours, Peter had been recalled as the ambassador. To go back to the point, we knew, because there was publicly available information, it was available to the public, that the association had gone on longer. What was not known is the full extent of the relationship, and then also the context that was revealed in those emails. At the point of knowing that, we acted. The Prime Minister acted.
You can never escape the fact that the Prime Minister thought it was a good idea to appoint Peter Mandelson as the UK's ambassador to the US when the following was known. Peter Mandelson had previously had to resign not once but twice over scandals. Peter Mandelson had a close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Peter Mandelson stayed with Jeffrey Epstein, stayed at his apartment while he was in prison. That there was a 2003 birthday book in which Peter Mandelson had described him as his best pal and used the strange phrase yum yum about what went on in Epstein's home. So what on earth does this say about the Prime Minister's judgment that he appointed Peter Mandelson in the first place, and despite the growing scandal around him, still defended him in the House of Commons on Wednesday, only to have to fire him the next day? His integrity and his reputation is in tatters, isn't it, Peter Kyle?
what the Prime Minister discovered on Wednesday was materially different from all of the sets of information that we'd had before. You have to understand that back in the period where Peter was appointed as ambassador, the global trading system had been upended. Relationships between America and Britain and other countries were being upended by a very unconventional approach to diplomacy. We faced a fundamentally challenging...
What was wrong with the job Karen Pierce was doing? What was wrong with Karen Pierce?
We faced a fundamentally challenging period, and we needed to get in there some real expertise that we felt was needed at that moment in time. But look what we've delivered since then. The first trade deal with America, the best trade deal with America. We are repurposing the special relationship to make it fit for a very, very unconventional period in time. We are announcing today over £1 billion of investment with America.
Are you saying that the Prime Minister couldn't find anyone better than Peter Mandelson, with all of his history, which has been well documented, to do that role? Is that how you're seriously spinning this? He did it in his own interest, not in the national interest, because he wanted to keep the Blairites happy, didn't he, Peter Kyle?
What you've seen is me saying very clearly, if we knew then what we know now,
you didn't know then what...
But look at what we have delivered for Britain.
You knew then most of what we know now.
We did not know then what we know now. It is materially different.
Was Peter Mandelson a controversial figure when he was appointed as ambassador to the US, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. So why on earth did the Prime Minister put him in place? He didn't put him in place for the national interest. He put him in place for self-interest. And that's where the whole decency and integrity shtick comes undone. Because if you do things in your own interest and pretend they're in the national interest, you're misleading the public, let alone Parliament, aren't you, Peter Kyle?
Well, just look at what we've delivered in the period since Donald Trump became president. We delivered the best deal, the first deal, the only deal that has been sealed with the United States on trade and on tariffs. We have protected 44,000 automotive jobs. We've created new opportunities to make wealth, to create wealth and do business with America. Today we're announcing an extra £1.2 billion worth of investment from American banks into Britain. 1,000 jobs in Belfast, hundreds of jobs in Manchester, hundreds of jobs in Edinburgh. This is a relationship that we are delivering for British workers right around the country. At the same time, you have Nigel Farage going over there asking America to punish Britain. This is an administration that puts the national interest first. We know that this is a difficult situation. If we'd known then what we know now, we would not have appointed Peter Mandelson, but at every stage we have strived to do what is in the best interests of Britain in difficult circumstances.
Peter Kyle, you've mounted a very robust defence. Thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. Coming up next, I'm going to be speaking to the Shadow Education Secretary, Laura Trott. This is the Camilla Tominey Show, only on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Joining me now is Shadow Education Secretary Laura Trott. Lovely to see you this morning. Thank you very much indeed for your time. So Kemi Badenoch has said on X, it looks like the Prime Minister and Labour MPs spent the week lying to the whole country about what they knew regarding Mandelson's involvement with a convicted paedophile, Jeffrey Epstein. If Number 10 had those emails for 48 hours before acting, it means he lied at PMQs and ministers lied again about new additional information. So do you support that, Laura Trott? You're accusing, just to be very, very clear, the Prime Minister of lying to the Commons.
Well, of course she's right. I mean, look at the facts, Camilla. We know that the Number 10 and the Foreign Office had emails from Bloomberg on Tuesday. Peter Mandelson himself said on Tuesday that there were further questions to answer and further things that were going to come out. Are you seriously telling me that at that point the Prime Minister and Number 10 didn't ask what the further information that was going to come out was, didn't see any of the information that had been put to the Foreign Office? I'm not buying it, Camilla, and Kemi isn't either. And I think just more broadly, there are just such grave questions to answer about the Prime Minister's judgment right this week. It's unbelievable that the man who stood on the steps of Number 10 and said he was going to restore political integrity. Look where we are now. We've had 2 senior resignations in the space of 2 weeks. We have had the outrageous situation where the Prime Minister and the Labour Party were defending this week appointing the best pal of a convicted paedophile as US ambassador. The Prime Minister's authority is just totally shot.
OK, so should he resign, Keir Starmer?
Well, I think we've got big questions that we need answered by him and his Chief of Staff. You know, what did they know and when? I think we need to see, what we're going to do first, Camilla, is use every parliamentary avenue available to us to try and get the information into the public domain for what actually happened and when, what happened in the vetting process, what information was given to the Prime Minister, what information was given to his Chief of Staff.
Well, hang on a minute.
Who overruled any concerns that were raised.
Laura Trott, you can't have a situation where the Leader of the Opposition is accusing the Prime Minister of lying to the House of Commons, misleading Parliament, which is a resignation offence, and then not call for him to resign. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, oh, Peter Mandelson told Harry Cole on Tuesday morning that there was more information to come, Downing Street has sat on it, the Prime Minister's not been honest with MPs, and then when I ask you, should he resign, start obfuscating yourself.
I don't think it's obfuscating so much as being very clear about what the process should be from this point, Camilla. And I've said very clearly that Kemi is not buying it. I'm not buying it. I don't think the British public are buying it. The next step in this is to be transparent about all the information, and then we can go from there.
But hang on a minute, let's put it a different way. If the Prime Minister has lied to the Commons, do you agree that's a resignation event?
Yes.
Therefore, I'm asking you, Laura Trott, and you've been tweeting about this today. You've tweeted the following. At least Lucy Powell has the courage to call for a change of culture in Number 10 after the PM was in an absurd position this week defending the best pal of a paedophile. Will Number 10's candidate Bridget Phillipson do the same? What you're saying is that you think Bridget Phillipson should follow Lucy Powell in calling for a change of culture in Number 10. We all know what that means. That means calling for a change of leadership. So when I ask you, should Keir Starmer resign, why isn't the answer yes? Put your money where your mouth is.
I absolutely am. I'm saying, on the basis of the information that we have right now, the Prime Minister has lied, right? But we believe in due process. We need to see exactly what has happened and what information has been given and when, because they're denying that, right? So therefore, we need to have this out in the public domain. We will use all the avenues available to us to do so. And
no, you're missing my point. Hang on, no.
The Prime Minister lied in this process.
I'm sorry. No, you're missing my point here. Kemi Badenoch has put on X, the Prime Minister lied to the Commons. You and I are agreeing that lying to the Commons is a resignation event. Ergo, I'm asking you, Laura Trott, should he resign?
But don't you agree that it looks like he's lied? I think everybody agrees it looks like he's lied.
It looks like he either didn't, if he did know on Tuesday what Stephen Doughty said we knew on Thursday, and he's gone in on Wednesday and said, according to the information that I have available, I follow procedure, then it's wrong because his own aides had information on Tuesday, right? But what I'm asking you is this. How can you possibly attack him for lying to the Commons, which you've made clear is a resignation event? What on earth is the point of Kemi Badenoch tweeting this? She's tweeted this because she's saying, if you've lied to the Commons, you have to resign. So I'm confused. Why isn't her Shadow Education Secretary telling me on my show, we've made this point that he's lied and he has to go? Because you're being cowardly about it.
Yep.
Just do you think he should go or not? He's the Prime Minister.
I've been exceptionally clear that if he's lied, he has to go, and it looks like he's lied.
Right, so you do think he should resign?
If he's lied, and it looks like he's lied.
If he's lied. All right, so you are calling for the Prime Minister's resignation if it's established, as Kemi Badenoch has accused him of lying. If it's been proved that he's lied, he must go. So we do have a shadow cabinet minister calling for the Prime Minister to go.
Yes.
Thank you. We've got there.
If it's been proved that he has lied, then
All right, let's move on.
I've been clear and you've been clear, which is...
All right, Laura Trott, thank you. We got there.
This is a terrible situation, right? This is a very terrible situation.
OK, let's move on to somebody else who may or may not have to resign, and that is the president of the Oxford Union, George Abaonye. Now, he has been glorifying the death of Charlie Kirk. He's in charge of the Oxford Union. This is an austere and historic debating society that's been home to many former prime ministers as presidents. Is it appropriate for this man to be at the helm of this august institution?
I don't think so, no.
So he
I
must
don't
go.
think you get to celebrate a political assassination. I don't think you get to celebrate a political assassination and be the head of an Oxford Union.
Should he still be a student at Oxford University, which, as you and I both know, is Oxford University is one of those universities that you have to try really, really hard to get into? Does he belong there?
I mean, I haven't seen exact details. I wouldn't go that far personally. I think he's apologised. I don't think he is an appropriate person to be head of the Oxford Union. But I think at that point, we don't need to hound this person out of their, future potential. I think we need to be able to say that if they've apologised, he said it's wrong, he really understands that what he said was absolutely abhorrent, then I think hounding him out of university is probably the wrong thing to do.
OK, so step down as the head of the Oxford Union, but not leave the university altogether. Your colleague Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, seems to be implying in his own posts on social media that this man was a DEI hire. seems to be questioning why he was there. He didn't get very high grades. I think he got ABB. Usually you have to have a minimum of 3 A's to get into Oxford University and all the rest of it. Do you support that theory?
I think it's for Oxford to set the admission criteria. You don't know what's gone on in individuals' lives, but I think it's very clear that what he said was just awful, and that is not a sentiment that should be expressed by the leader of the Oxford Union.
Union boss, this is about the NEU's Daniel Kabidi. Give teachers a mark from home day. He thinks that teachers should be entitled to work 1 day a week from home. Do we want teachers working from home, Laura Trott? Do you think that's a good idea?
Well, Bridget Phillipson seems to be doing everything that the unions want, so expect to see that in a policy coming to you very soon. I mean, it's just completely extraordinary that we've had her now making speeches saying that that policy of the Department for Education is co-written by unions, the very unions that she's trying to garner support from now for her deputy leadership campaign. It's completely outrageous. It cannot be the case that a sitting cabinet minister is openly trying to get votes from unions and having union-driven policy in her own department. It is a total and utter outrage. And I know there is a lot of competition for outrage this week, but this really is one.
Fair enough. Although Laura, woman to woman, she did look quite good in that photo shoot, didn't she? Windswept hair.
I thought she looked great, yes. I agree,
yeah, right.
I agree, I thought she looked great.
Can we agree that if there is a wind tunnel and someone wants to photograph us in it, we'll both agree to that, Laura Trott?
100%.
All right, well, we'll hold you to that, perhaps at a future GB News event. But thank you very much indeed for your time this morning, Shadow Education Secretary Laura Trott. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. While low pressure dominates, bringing wet and windy conditions, we have a Met Office yellow wind warning in force for England and Wales this evening and overnight and into Monday. So low pressure dominates, moving its way eastwards through Sunday night and into Monday with some strong winds, so 60 to 70 miles per hour along the exposed coasts. The band of rain will continue to push its way through, mainly affecting northern parts of Scotland, clearer skies towards the south and east, but behind that, blustery showers across Northern Ireland, Northern England, Wales and the southwest, but a milder start to Monday compared to Sunday. So like I said, we still have that wind warning in force across England and Wales, but for Scotland, it's a damp start across the north. Lighter winds here though, and then across Northern Ireland to start Monday morning, showery, especially across northern parts of England as well, where it could be heavy at times. Best of the brightness really focused across East Anglia, the Midlands and the southeast to start the day. But inland, 45 to 55 miles per hour is possible across England and Wales, so take care, especially during rush hour. Otherwise, showers affecting Northern Ireland and merging to give longer spells of rain across Northern England, Northern Wales as well. Towards the south of that, some sunny breaks, but also blustery showers that will rattle through pretty quickly, highs of up to 18 or 19 degrees. To start Tuesday then, it's actually a much brighter start out there. The low pressure will shift its way eastwards, so we'll start to see lighter winds. There'll be a few showers around, mainly across a northern part of England. Bright skies towards the southeast before sunshine turns hazy later, and then we see the return of more wet and windy weather on Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Joining me now in the studio is Damien Green, former Deputy Prime Minister, and now here to discuss his report on adult social care, which I've got to be honest, Damien, lovely to see you this morning and thanks for coming in. We're not talking about this anymore.
No, and that's part of the problem. It's a grumbling issue that under the surface is quietly getting worse,
yes,
but has been a problem for 20 years, which the British state under successive governments has never got to grips with. And one of the things the Social Care Foundation exists to do is to keep reminding people regularly, this issue hasn't been solved yet, and it affects millions of families,
yes,
and we need to solve it.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Families don't need to be reminded, they're living it. So many people are living with having to look after elderly relatives, disabled relatives, and really struggling to meet the costs. So tell me, you've got 35 key recommendations in this report. Tell me the kind of headline recommendations. What needs to be done?
OK, I mean, there are, I won't go through all 35, but they divide into the big issues of funding, of how to create a better qualified and better trained workforce, and how, vitally importantly, to integrate it with the NHS better than it is now. So on funding, which has always been the rock on which previous attempts to solve it has dashed, we make recommendations about how you should raise it. I mean, essentially, for left-wing or right-wing politicians, if you just want to raise it from taxation, we think something like a levy on national insurance is the best way. If you want to have more individual payments, we recommend an insurance system sort of similar to a pension system where you pay into through your life, or you buy a single insurance premium at the end of your working life so that you can insure yourself against any care costs apart from utterly catastrophic ones. So that's one area, raising the money, but also we think distributing the money is really important. At the moment, it's done through local authorities. We think it would be simpler to have a national care system where there would be a test. I mean, they do it in Australia. There are 6 levels. You get assessed as to what care you need.
Yes.
You get put on one of those levels. You get given a sum of money, and you then choose whether you need domiciliary care, care at home, or to go into a care home. You decide how to spend that money. So it gives everyone the freedom that at the moment you only have if you've got the money to pay for your own care.
So currently the situation is that central government gives the money to local authorities and then the local authorities distribute that. And is there a set amount that they give per person? And is there a postcode lottery currently with how that care is or care package, I should say, is distributed?
There's a complete postcode lottery in applications in different local authorities. People apply, and in some local authorities 15% get turned down, and in other local authorities 85% get turned down. So depending on where you live, there is absolutely that terrible old cliche, there is a postcode lottery on this.
But the trouble is it doesn't solve the problem or the iniquity that is being diagnosed with cancer and having all of your treatment covered by the NHS, and being diagnosed with dementia and having to pay for the cover of your own care. I mean, that's the problem here that can't really be solved. Dilnot was going to solve it in a way, wasn't it, by capping care costs? Have you moved away from that? Where are you on the Dilnot proposals?
I mean, clearly, people can't afford unlimited payments. The insurance system would mean that, just as, I don't know, we'll pay house insurance in the hope that you never have to cash it in, as it were. It's just a waste of money, but, you can go through your life never being burgled, never having a big accident in your house. Similarly, some people don't need care. Some people do need care. Some people need care. It's more expensive. They go into residential care and so on. If you have an insurance system, then you would know that you were insured against that. So that would solve the losing all your savings.
Although the left are going to rail against that, aren't they? They're going to see it as the privatisation of adult social care.
Well, the thing about adult social care is that it's not like the NHS, it's not free at the point of use.
No.
You get assessed.
Yes.
So, and one of the reasons why in the report we're careful to talk about a national care system, because I do think it needs to be, if you like, much better integrated with the NHS, not a national care service, precisely to avoid the point that people think, OK, fine, social care is now free, because we can't afford it.
And maybe it's because you were sort of bitten with the whole criticism of the dementia tax when you were working alongside former Prime Minister Theresa May. The Lib Dems have been talking about this, and Ed Davey's quite credible on it because he looked after his mother who had disabilities and he looks after his son John who has disabilities. Tories aren't talking about it at all.
No, I mean, to be fair to my party, there's a lot else to talk about at the moment, as you're doing on the show this morning. But so therefore, that's why I think external voices like mine are needed to keep it in the mix, because some of the things we recommend don't require extra money, as well as the big funding issue, which we've been talking about. There are other things that can be done that don't cost money, such as if you integrated it better with the NHS, then you would reduce the bureaucracy. If you had a system where you had we recommend a national care portal, if you like, where wherever you are in the country, you think, oh, I need, or my mother or grandmother, whatever, needs care, what do I do? There will be a portal that you go onto that points you in the right direction. And in local terms, we advocate the creation of care hubs, which is just somewhere in the locality you go to. And they can then advise you saying, OK, it looks like you need this, so there's a charity that maybe provides that, or a private company, or the state.
But hasn't one of the most fundamental problems for the care sector been in recent weeks and months since Labour took power this increase to employers' national insurance contributions? Wes Streeting exempted the NHS from that, didn't exempt private care providers. And by the way, this applies to hospices, children and adult, as much as it does to residential and care homes and nursing homes. That was absolutely catastrophic. I mean, you've already got care homes facing sky-high utilities bills. Now they're having to find hundreds of thousands of quid down the back of the sofa.
Yeah, which many of them haven't got. And it's the case, there's about 130,000 shortfall in the workforce. Everyone is talking about bringing down immigration numbers. We know that workforce has been hugely dependent on immigrant workers for years now. So among our other set of recommendations is precisely to make it a more attractive career for people. We think, for example, there should be parity. If you're doing the same job inside the NHS or inside the care sector, you should be paid the same amount of money.
How do care providers pay? How do they pay those higher wages, Damien, if they are not receiving never-ending amounts of taxpayers' cash? By the way, in return for less productivity, the NHS is eating through taxpayers' cash. It's less productive than it was pre-COVID. You then have these care providers that actually do a really good job. They're regulated by the CQC. In some cases, actually, not least when we've seen these NHS league tables suggesting that a great many hospitals are in the 3s and 4s, they're not good enough. And yet they get clobbered by the Treasury at every single turn. How can they afford to pay higher wages? They can't compete with unionised NHS workers.
Only if they get extra money in. That's why, I mean, a few people in the sector say you don't need any extra money, you just need to organise it. But the vast majority say you do need extra money in. And that's one of the reasons, perhaps the underlying reason, why successive governments have in the end shied away from doing anything, is that people have to be confronted with the fact that if you want an effective and stable social care system, people are going to have to pay more money. I would personally, but not all my advisory council in the Social Care Foundation agree with me. I would prefer to do it personally. I'd prefer to have people take personal responsibility. But you can do it through taxation at all. But I take your point absolutely, that I think we're at the limits of people's, how much taxation people can stand at the moment.
Well, and then the limits maybe of how much care providers can pay their staff at the moment with all of the other competition on their costs. What is the quantifiable sort of figure? How much funding needs to be raised to deal with it?
It's not sensibly quantifiable. We deliberately haven't put a figure in it, because once you start saying it's got to be extra 15 billion. And as I say, there are things you can do. You can make the career path more attractive and clearer for care workers, so that more young people are attracted into it, because it's a sort of idealistic profession that does attract young people, just as nursing does.
It's vocational. People want to help other people.
So people want to do it. So if you think, actually, I can go in, as it were, at the bottom and work my way up, there's a proper career structure here, that would make it more attractive.
It's not a problem going away with our increasingly ageing population, Damien Green. Thank you very much indeed for talking us through all of that. At least we're speaking about it on GB News. No other channel seems to be.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, if you're heading off to the Mediterranean, then there's plenty of dry, sunny and very warm weather on offer over the next few days. There may well be a few showers just moving into the far north of Portugal and the far north of Spain on Monday, but most of Iberia, dry, sunny and very warm, if not hot. The same across Italy, most of Greece, the Balkans and Turkey. Just one or two afternoon thunderstorms here and there. And the outlook is for it to stay pretty settled, dry and sunny for the vast majority and very warm indeed.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Camila Tominey Show. Joining me now is the esteemed historian and biographer, Sir Anthony Seldon. Sir Anthony, lovely to see you on this Sunday morning. It's an interesting time. Lovely to see you. It's an interesting time, isn't it? Keir Starmer, I think we can both agree, on the ropes. You'll have seen the coverage in the Sunday papers. Actually quite legitimate sort of briefing and sourced quotes about his days being numbered. It looks terminal. People are talking about him in the vein of John Major, a sitting duck prime minister. What do you think?
So I think it was so avoidable, Camilla. If only he had the good manners, really, the good judgment to realise that being prime minister is not the same as campaigning. You have the heaviest responsibility imaginable to the nation to try and give it growth, to get the economy flowing, to generate the money, to get Britain out of the financial mess it's in. And he didn't listen, or he did listen, but listened to the wrong people who knew nothing, absolutely nothing about how to be Prime Minister. And, you know, as I and many others were writing, it would spell doom if he continued as he did. And he didn't listen, he carried on. And here we are now. So, Camilla, first point really is it was completely avoidable. And now he's in an absolute hole. I think it's very hard. We must remember this. I mean, we've talked before about Boris Johnson carrying on, Rishi Sunak, John Major mentioned. It is very hard to get rid of a prime minister. Nothing like the American president, where you are locked into a fixed term, but it's still difficult because there are all kinds of institutional lock-ins that make a pivot difficult, particularly for the Labour Party, and particularly if you don't have an oven-ready alternative around which people can unite, who is clearly going to do better against a challenge. And in this case, it's obviously Reform and Nigel Farage. But that's a terrible position to be in if the reason that you're there is there's no one better. I mean, that's awful for any leader in any job.
But maybe that's changed now in recent days. You know, the emergence of Andy Burnham, the Manchester mayor, who is quite personable, he's good at media, he's quite popular, he seems to have done a good job in that northern city. You know, now Angela Rayner is out of the picture because of what happened over the tax avoidance admission. You know, somebody like Burnham could galvanise, particularly those Labour MPs on small majorities, who must be going around their constituencies getting such hell because of the Prime Minister's bad performance.
Absolutely. And they are incredibly worried because being an MP or being a minister for the lucky few is the high point of their life. And they don't want it to end in 3 or 4 years' time, or even maybe less. So, so Andy Burnham, very presentable, charismatic, charming. There are question marks, obviously. He wasn't an unqualified success as a minister, and he has critics, and not just on the right, for what he's been doing in Manchester. So, you know, it's not a shoo-in, Camilla.
No.
And you know, once he starts becoming more plausible, more of these reservations about him will come up. So this is the point. This is it. It's not a case of will he survive or not. It's a case of will he survive with the initiative, with power, or will he just be in office but not in power? That's the key question. That is what we're talking about. He can carry on in office, but without the initiative and with people pretty much giving up on him and lots of critical comments from his own MPs and from everybody else. Or can he regain the initiative? Now, if that's the essay question, I think it's going to be really hard for him now ever to regain the initiative. He's had chance after chance. There is still a possibility. It's such a, Camilla, as again we've talked about often before, we've never had a time in politics like this with so many prime ministers and chancellors going and with such a plausible challenger from the right as Nigel Farage and Reform polling so strongly. So it's hard to say it won't happen, but I think it's unlikely that he will regain the initiative with the party conference coming up, all the debate over who's the deputy leader, not that that matters, of Labour, and then the budget. What can he do in the budget, given he's done what he's done so far, to restore confidence and to show he's serious about growth? Very tricky. Not impossible yet, but pretty hard.
What are your thoughts about the Peter Mandelson saga? Funny enough, I remember seeing you do a lecture at the West Hampstead Synagogue some time ago. I brought my eldest child. And Peter Mandelson, you'll remember, was in the audience. And then he had a fight with somebody else in the audience about whether Keir Starmer had done enough to expel those aligned with Jeremy Corbyn from the party over anti-Semitism. And that was back, I looked it up, Anthony, it was February 2024. And I sort of thought, why is Peter Mandelson there showing support for Starmer, lo and behold, his loyalty is rewarded with that ambassadorship. Now it's ended in tears. You're a close follower of politics. I'm a close follower of politics. We could have told Keir Starmer that it wasn't a sensible appointment in the first place, because Mandelson's always had history, and most people in Fleet Street were familiar with the nature of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, you were there. I remember you chatting to Peter Mandelson afterwards, and the lecture was about what does it take to be a successful Prime Minister. I mean, that didn't interest him. I mean, maybe it wasn't an interesting lecture, but it was a little bit odd that he took it off entirely in his own direction and on his own agenda to make his own point for his own reasons. And I think that's a problem with Peter Mandelson. Incredibly gifted, but also extraordinarily egocentric. And it's always about Peter Mandelson himself, you know, and there isn't the big vision. What Starmer needed was a vision for Britain after 14 years of Conservative government about how that was going to be driven by an absolutely thumpingly strong economy now out of Europe. What would that look like? We hadn't heard that convincingly from the Tories. He could have done that. It's about vision. It's not about ego. And there's far too much ego in politics and far too few serious people who are putting their national interest, including the working people who suffered the most from the misjudgments of politicians over the years. And hence the rise of Farage.
Indeed. And very quickly on that, Sir Anthony, because we're running out of time, can you envisage having to write your next biography of Nigel Farage? Will he be Prime Minister? Very briefly.
He might be, Camilla. The polls would suggest he definitely will be. And anybody who underestimates Nigel Farage ought to go off for a drink and with him and find out the magic that he has, that Donald Trump has, which in this new political world is almost essential to obtain power.
OK. Thank you very much indeed, Sir Anthony Seldon. Lovely to speak to you this morning.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, low pressure dominates, bringing wet and windy conditions. We have a Met Office yellow wind warning in force for England and Wales this evening and overnight and into Monday. So low pressure dominates, moving its way eastwards through Sunday night and into Monday with some strong winds, so 60 to 70 miles per hour along the exposed coasts. The band of rain will continue to push its way through, mainly affecting northern parts of Scotland, clearest skies towards the south and east, but behind that, blustery showers across Northern Ireland, Northern England, Wales and the southwest, but a milder start to Monday compared to Sunday. So like I said, we still have that wind warning in force across England and Wales, but for Scotland, it's a damp start across the north. Lighter winds here though, and then across Northern Ireland to start Monday morning, showery, especially across northern parts of England as well, where it could be heavy at times. Best of the brightness really focused across East Anglia, the Midlands and the southeast to start the day. But inland, 45 to 55 miles per hour is possible across England and Wales, so take care, especially during rush hour. Otherwise, showers affecting Northern Ireland and merging to give longer spells of rain across Northern England, Northern Wales as well. Towards the south of that, some sunny breaks, but also blustery showers that will rattle through pretty quickly, highs of up to 18 or 19 degrees. To start Tuesday then, it's actually a much brighter start out there. The low pressure will shift its way eastwards, so we'll start to see lighter winds. There'll be a few showers around, mainly across a northern part of England. Bright skies towards the southeast before sunshine turns hazy later, and then we see the return of more wet and windy weather on Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, this is Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. On the show tonight.
I'm sorry, our two countries are the two least racist countries ever to exist in the history of the world. And
we pay tribute to the free speech legend Charlie Kirk after his terrible assassination. I'll be joined by Winston Marshall to talk about his life, why he was so important and the impact of this week's tragic events.